You know, I gotta be honest with you, Nintendo Bros. It ain't looking too good, man. It is definitely not looking good. Alright, so I just turned on my PC after coming home, and the first thing I seen was this right here on Twitter. Donkey Kong Bonanza's director has said he's aware of occasional performance issues spotted by the press, and said the development team has prioritized fun and playability. Well, thank God they're focusing on making the game playable. No, but in all seriousness, before we go ahead and talk about the performance, yeah, I would kinda hope the game is playable. That's the bare minimum. I mean, the game would literally be a scam if it wasn't playable. I know that's probably not how they meant it, but it comes across like that. They really need to get a different guy making the statements, I'll be honest with you. But in this post, they attached an article, and I just want to go through that, and then after that, we will, of course, be going over fanboy reactions and defenses, because the Nintendo White Knights are out in full force today. So this is the article right here. Donkey Kong Bonanza director says he's aware of occasional performance issues, quote, prioritizing fun. Press noticed occasional frame drops in recent hands-on. Yeah, this is definitely not something you want to hear when it comes to one of the first big launches for a brand new console. And this is especially the case when it's a first-party game. Like, I'll give credit where credit's due. I think Microsoft and Sony, when they released their first big games for the Xbox Series and the PS5, I'm pretty sure they ran at a locked 60. You can correct me if I'm wrong with that. Donkey Kong Bonanza's director has said he's aware of occasional performance issues spotted by the press, and said the development team has prioritized fun and playability. I mean, a better response is we'll fix it before we release the game, but I guess that's just too much to expect with modern gaming. Like, come on, man, these games are $70, and that's the reason I'm so harsh on this type of shit. When you start upping the price, I up my expectations. Speaking to Spanish outlet La Vanguardia, I think is how you say that, I don't know, Nintendo's Kazuya Takahashi was asked about frame drops the interviewer noticed when playing the game. So yeah, it was definitely noticeable, that's another thing to note. A lot of times when you play a game, you'll have frame drops, but they won't be that noticeable. Like, let's say you're running at 60 FPS and you drop into the mid-50s. That's not too noticeable. Some people will notice it, but a lot won't, especially if it's not a first-person shooter. But noticeable might mean 30 FPS in some segments. I wish he would go into more detail on what kind of frame rates we're talking about here, but yeah, it will likely be noticeable for most people if the interviewer noticed it. There are several factors to consider, Takahashi responded. First, we intentionally used effects like hit stop and slow motion to emphasize impact. Second, because we use voxel technology, there are times when there are major changes and destruction in the environment. So the destruction in environment sounds like a CPU related issue to me, because your GPU, or your graphics card, handles visuals, whereas your CPU handles stuff like rendering and physics in a game. So I will give Nintendo a little bit of credit here. At least the performance issues aren't caused by them chasing visuals like the rest of the AAA industry. We often see a lot of AAA games come out now that focus so hard on graphics that they run like shit. At least this is them trying to make the game more interactive, but that doesn't stop the performance from being an issue. Space Marine 2 was very similar. The game ran suboptimal in some areas on consoles, and it wasn't because they chased graphics really hard, it was because there were so many enemies on the screen. We're aware that performance may drop slightly at these times, however, as you say, overall the game is smooth, and at points where large-scale changes occur, we prioritized fun and playability. Okay, so earlier you said it was noticeable, and now you're saying it's slight. You gotta make up your mind, man. If the performance loss is noticeable, then it's definitely not running smoothly. Takahashi joined Nintendo in 2020, having previously worked on other open-world titles at his former companies, most likely Square Enix, according to a Moby Games page. Personally, while I had no prior experience working on Donkey Kong games, I do have very fond memories of playing Donkey Kong Jr. and later Donkey Kong Country, he said. After I learned I'd been assigned to the Donkey Kong Bonanza team, I replayed all the games in the franchise. In particular, Donkey Kong Country introduced unique mechanics, like barrel cannons and minecarts. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, those minecart levels were pure ass. However, I will admit that the levels in the 2D Donkey Kong games, like the normal levels, are really good. I wanted to revisit those elements and add a sense of destruction that motivated me to incorporate past memories along with new ideas. Donkey Kong Bonanza will be released on Nintendo Switch 2 on July 17th. Recently, Nintendo showcased new details and info on the Nintendo Switch 2 game, including the reveal of longtime series character Pauline, who will join DK on his adventure. VGC published a hands-on preview with Donkey Kong Bonanza last week. We wrote, like Mario's recent 3D outings, Donkey Kong Bonanza will likely be greater than the sum of its parts, a cavalcade of ideas and mechanics that might not seem like much on their own, but together form a consistently entertaining adventure. So yeah, that was the article. I think the game looks alright. I hope the performance issues are not that bad for people who are gonna play this game, but we will have to wait and see. But here comes the fun part of this video where we go over some fanboy copium. So these comments that I'm about to read out are on that Twitter post I showed at the beginning of the video, which just showed the name of the article. That's honestly refreshing to hear. Too many games these days chase perfect performance at the expense of what actually matters, making something fun to play. I mean, this might be shocking to hear, but you can make something fun that also runs perfectly. The number one example that always comes to mind for me is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal ran at 120 FPS on consoles when it came out, 60 FPS for last-gen consoles. There were next to no, if not no, drops in performance. It ran at 60 FPS on a Steam Deck, and the PC port was extremely well optimized. So, Blitches here says, so I got two options. I can A, wait for the Switch 3 OLED model when it drops in 2036, or B, play this game on PC and run it at 4K 60 FPS. Now, this really upset a Nintendo fanboy. Asobi here with a literal Pikachu profile picture says, PC players actually support the gaming industry challenge? Impossible. Yeah, guys, don't you know, if you pirate that game, Nintendo executives are literally going to starve on the streets. They need your money. Somebody please think of the billionaires. Like, come on, man, you can't be serious with this shit. Blitches replies, I can literally show you my insane library of bought games on Steam. That doesn't mean I'm going to accept shit performance that Nintendo keeps sticking you guys with, lol. You can enjoy 540p at 25 FPS if you want to. I won't. Asobi then replies to Blitches saying, quote, Nintendo trash? Someone desperate to play their games. Yeah, okay. Whatever you say, champ. Yeah, he never really said the games were trash. He was talking about the performance of the games and how he would rather play on PC because he's getting a better experience. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention this, but he said he was gonna play it on PC. He never said he was gonna pirate it, so maybe he will buy a copy of the game and then play it on PC with like redumping or whatever. Who knows? Born to Tease comes in and says, and how much Switch 2 cost again? Man, Nintendo bending you all over, which then prompts Mike Owens to respond, and how much PS5 cost again? Man, Sony bending you all over. Yet nobody was bringing up Sony here. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate a lot of the practices that Sony does. Concord is shown there, it was a shit game. The Last of Us is shown there, which I agree is milked to death. They then show the Neil Druckmann quote, "We don't use the word fun," which was a stupid thing to say. And while I agree all of this shit was stupid, and these practices suck, they have nothing to do with the Switch 2 or the performance issues in Donkey Kong. But that's all of the fanboy cope I want to go over today. There's not really anything else I could find or anyone else I could find coping, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike and a mean comment. Alright guys, that's it from me. I'm out.